This is Monsters on the Mic on the Fan 106.5, giving you exclusive insider access to coaches and players for Duluth's Minnesota Monsters football team. Recorded weekly at Lyric Kitchen Bar in downtown Duluth. Now here's your hosts, Brian Prudhomme and Dave Cook.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Monsters on the Mic here at Lyric Kitchen Bar as we prepare for the Monsters to do battle once again with the Cats of Nashville. They were here not too long ago. They were part of the home opener. That did not go well for the Monsters, but everything since Dave Cook pretty much has, as it's Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. We're doing another show here at Lyric Kitchen Bar. We're coming off a win again. I like this pattern we have going.
You can't say that the Monsters have been lying in wait for the Cats either, because they've been just taking other teams to the woodshed. Even though the score was pretty close last week, the Cats are running into a team right now that's a bit of a buzzsaw.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, they beat the Bombers again last week. I get from the emphasis that was put on social media about the way the team played that it's okay to win games but have improvements to make as well, because that's the vibe I got even from the folks that were there and involved in the win. But you and I have talked sports for a lot of years together. Yeah. It's a nice problem to have when you get to make corrections but still have a W each time.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Win with a couple of things you can work on. I think that's how everybody'd like it. But a win's a win. They're not going to take it away from you, and they're not going to make you feel bad about it. Right? You win, and you go and do what you need to do next.
Never apologize for winning. That's the old adage. But again, Nashville, the first time they played the Monsters, they didn't apologize for winning either. There was a ton of fanfare, a ton of hype about, hey, Amsoil, this is the first time for the Monsters being in Duluth. How great is this going to be? Well, about that, the Nashville Cats had something to say about it. We think they might again. We got a couple of guests with us that are banged up at the moment, but have been big parts of the Minnesota Monsters defense in the past. Defense wins championships. Duluth in arena football wins championships.
Well, and this defense is ready to tee off. They were embarrassed, and so now it's time to get back at Nashville. And hey, we're really glad that they're hanging out with us. But I promise you, they'd rather be hanging out at practice.
Like most people, they'd rather be somewhere other than talking to you and I. But we are very blessed to have Charles Reid with us to start things. Charles, you're a big part of that defense. Defense, with all due respect to the offense, Javonte Johnson, always great receivers, Shannon Brooks and all that. For me, defense is still the identity of this team. You've been a big part of that. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, absolutely. I think in this game, you got to get 4 or 5 stops. You have to get stops to win football games. So teams know if you're playing against high-flying offenses, you got to be able to get 4 or 5 stops, get off the field, and get the ball back in the hands of guys like Javonte Johnson.
So, Dave, right there, we always wonder if a coach's message is received by his players. We had Coach Clark on, 2-3 weeks ago, 2-3 shows ago, and what did he stress? 4 stops.
Yes, he did.
One of his defensive stalwarts, what's his first expression? I think he said 4 stops, but we'll go up. We'll say 4 stops, so message received.
Well, absolutely, message received. The other thing that I wanted to ask, I've been waiting to ask this for a couple of weeks now. Turnovers have been a big deal with this defense. This defense goes after and gets the football. Are turnovers in this league a bigger deal than they are in other leagues? Because it seems like momentum just doesn't switch for that score. It feels like it just permeates the building.
There's nothing more demoralizing for a team, for an offense than a turnover. In this league, possessions come and go, but if you can steal, like we said, 3 or 4 possessions in the game, that's huge. That's potentially a 21-point swing in any game. So you have to be able to get turnovers in this game.
Yes.
Speaking of, that was pretty much the issue the first time that Nashville faced the Monsters. They won the turnover battle, not by a landslide, but they turned it into points much better than we did. So you're in an interesting perspective right now in that Barron Mallory, who will be with us shortly, and yourself, injured but still able to view things from afar and have a different perspective. When you look at the Cats and think back to that initial game, there are things to work on, of course, but what problems, what challenges did Nashville present?
I think Nashville is a team that they're a team that does what they do. They don't stray too much away from the plays that they call, but you have to be disciplined on defense. You have to be in position, and you have to get them uncomfortable on the offensive side of the ball. If you let this guy get in rhythm, he'll tear you up. So you have to get to the quarterback, and you have to force turnovers.
Well, let's talk about that guy for a moment, because I believe the guy you're talking about is Mr. Kolka, their quarterback. He's played a lot of football in Duluth. He's familiar with the schemes that we present. He's disciplined as well. Is that his biggest danger? Is it the arm itself? What is it?
Listen, he puts the ball in the spot.
Right.
Whether the receiver is there or not, that's on him, but he puts the ball where it's supposed to be. And as a defense, if you're out of place, he'll gas you. So we have to be disciplined on that side of the ball.
So I'm going to give you the ultimate chicken or the egg question, and that could be specific to this game, but it could be general when it comes to defensive football. Is it about covering better? Is it about getting him off the spot, disrupting the timing of the quarterback? Because this defense is good at both. What's more imperative, do you think?
I think it's about both of those things equally. If we can get him off his spot, force him to make some bad decisions. Now he may be second-guessing some of those, spot throws that he makes because he can't just sit in the pocket and just let it go. He has to think about Claude Davis running at his face.
We all think about that.
Right. So it becomes an issue. You get a little bit more uncomfortable in the pocket when you're forced to make decisions outside of your comfort zone.
I think the fun part about that, Dave, is that if you know from the last home game, opposing defenses think about Claude Davis running in their face now too.
Well, absolutely. The thing is looking back at football history, the coach of the greatest show on turf, Mike Martz's offense was exactly that. Throw to the spot, worry about the receivers getting to that spot. You have to get the football there. And his quarterback, Kurt Warner, is in the Hall of Fame. And one of the things that Kurt Warner said was difficult in that offense is if you had guys that didn't run the right routes. So defensive backs were key. In this game against this team, how are your guys going to get these receivers off their mark?
I think it's about being physical against these receivers. They're very good at running routes. They're very good at getting to their spot. But, any arena receiver is going to have trouble kind of with the physicality on the line of scrimmage. So I think that's a big key this week, getting guys off their spot and making it difficult for them to run the routes.
Well, and you mentioned that the biggest part of that seems to be the jam technique, if you will. But again, this league, this style of football is so quick. How difficult is that to actually accomplish?
That's a part of the game. You have to kind of be, it could come from a defensive call or it can come from just being annoying at the point of attack to when you're covering, maybe a little nudge. You have to find ways to irritate guys, especially receivers.
The offense for this team sings the praises of the defense quite often, and I'm going to venture to guess that it's the same right back at him. You mentioned how good Javante's been. But the thing about the defense that's been stressed to us is how well these guys communicate. Talk about that, because, again, with time, with pace, when do you communicate? But, again, it's been said to be a strength of yours. Tell us what goes into that.
I think on the defensive side of the ball, when you're practicing, you have to iron out some of these kinks to where when we get in the game, we should just be talking about a play call. Guys should know feel where each other's supposed to be. And, you just have to trust that your teammate is in the right spot.
I'm going to give you a difficult question both for you and for me, because I don't like having to discuss this with a player who's injured, but I do think it's part of the game, and I think it takes us inside their mind. There are players that you can tell have that coach's mentality. We talked to Antonio Simley, and that guy speaks like a coach. So we know he's playing, but he's like a coach on the field. At the same time, guys who are injured, no doubt you missed the game. No doubt this is difficult in your head. But is there part of you, excited is not the right word, but is there part of you that's intrigued by seeing it from a different perspective and maybe changing your game or assisting your team, seeing it differently than maybe you do on the field?
I think that's a part of it. When you get a bird's eye view of what's going on, it looks totally different than kind of strapping that helmet up and being on the field. So I think, from my perspective now, I can kind of, using the things I already know about playing the game, kind of help guys out like, hey, this is what I see. And they trust me because they know I've been in those positions. So it's a little bit different, coming from a coach than it is coming from a player who's been on the field, especially this year, and played against this football team. Like, we know what they're going to do. Right. We know what we need to do to stop it. So
with this league being the way it is, you've played a lot of teams without a lot of time elapsing in between. Played the Bombers a couple times close together. Played the Arsenal a couple times close together. Going to see them again soon. It wasn't that long ago when you played Nashville. Does that help or does that hurt? Because it's all about adjustments. It's all about film. But that's not that big of a gap to adjust. What do you think of the time between tilts, if you will?
I think that the time between the game matters, but you're seeing these teams, so quick that some of these teams will run totally different things. You know what I mean? From week to week, you'd be surprised. You watch film on the team from 2 weeks ago, they might have different guys on their roster.
That's what impresses me.
There might be, some different things going on in terms of scheme. So you have to pay attention to those things, but also you have to be ready to adapt in the game, in those moments where things are uncomfortable. You have to be ready to kind of adjust.
Monsters on the mic. Again, Charles Reid is with us. We're preparing for the Cats in Nashville this time. Dave Cook, I know we want to talk about who Charles Reid is. We haven't done that yet.
Absolutely. You know, Charles, one of the things that we take pride in is that the amount of kids that listen to this and the ones specifically that are wanting to be in the shoes you're in, man. They want to play pro ball. They want to play college ball. Where'd you come from? What were the steps that got you to where you're at?
Man, I'm a Jersey kid. I grew up only wanting to play football because I saw my older brothers playing. So I was always around the older kids. Just, I'm a smaller player. I've always been one of the smallest kids. But I always was competitive. Always wanted to play this game. Went to a small D2 school, where we were top 15 in the nation and kind of had to prove myself. And after that, I felt like, I could continue playing and found my way in arena in about 2018, 2019. I've been playing ever since then. So I've been around a little bit. I'm a vet in a few leagues, played IFL, NAL. So I know what's going on, and guys trust me. They trust my word. They see my work. So I think that helps me a lot.
So if you got a high school kid who's thinking maybe they hit a growth spurt or maybe they had a great season, and they think, you know what, I can carry this on to the next level, what kind of advice would you have them trying to get to the next level?
I would say definitely be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think now that gap from high school to college football is basically you're a professional athlete now at that college level.
Yeah.
So the amount of work you need to be putting in is basically pushed down a level. So high school guys need to be working like college athletes. If you're in college, you're basically a pro at this time. So just think about the work that the pros do. Think about the time they spend improving their body, improving their diet. You have to lock in on that at like 12 years old now.
That's crazy.
To find that, to be able to adjust to that curve, it's crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't resonate the way it used to. We used to make fun of ourselves saying I'm acting like a 12-year-old. Now you got to lock in at age 12. Things have changed in a big way. Charles Reid, I got to ask you this, because you talked about your brothers setting the example and kind of enticing you to want to play. Who were some of the other influences on you? Who taught you the most about this game? Who brought you the passion for the game?
Wow, probably my dad. Definitely my dad. I can remember being 11 or 12 years old and him sitting me down and kind of asking me, is this what you want to do? Because I'm about to start investing some real resources in you. You know what I mean? Some real money, some real time. And
wow.
I told him I was serious about it, and this is what I wanted to do. And I knew from that point that I would go to school to play college football because I saw my oldest brother was a track athlete, went to University of New Mexico, D1 guy. So I had those examples of, hey, man, I know I can do this. My dad kind of, ensured me that he would invest in me, but knowing that, I was serious about it.
That's such an intense and such an honorable thing to say as a dad, because you're laying it out there. The minute you don't do any of that stuff, that trust is broken. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no doubt about that. On behalf of short guys everywhere, because I'm just like you, I got to ask this question. Being a diminutive player, I think of somebody like Antoine Winfield or Antoine Winfield Jr., frankly, but there are short guys that succeed defensively. I've used the word challenge in questioning you on things before. What's the challenge with the lack of verticality, if you will, that you're able to compensate for?
I think with being my height, you have to make up for that in technique.
Yeah.
My technique has to be perfect and my anticipation. So I'm in the film. I kind of like to see things before they happen. You know what I mean? Recognize patterns. So that way, I can adjust and do things on the fly that other guys can't do. But I always say this all the time to my teammates. You can't be short and slow. I have to be fast. I have to be quick and be agile and be able to get places. So I can't depend on my length or, my weight or my size. I have to be able to get places.
I have to disagree with part of that. You can be short and slow. You just end up in radio. I'm living proof of it. But at the same time, I got to ask you a two-part question. Number one, you've maybe been around this show or heard about this show when Claude Davis has been on, and I give that guy so much grief about his time with the Jets. As a Jersey kid, does that bother you, for one? And then the second part of the question is this. Your thoughts on Duluth so far. Don't look at the weather this week, because let's not talk about that. It's been a proverbial black cloud or a literal one. But what have your thoughts been about Duluth as a whole and the atmosphere at Amsoil?
First question, I have no feelings about the Jets. I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm not.
I can tolerate that.
That doesn't bother me. That up there, that's North Jersey. I'm a South Jersey kid,
All right, fair enough.
So we're Eagles, Flyers, Phillies. That's my thing. So no hate to the Jets.
Broad Street bully over here. I like
Broad
it.
Street bully for sure. But in terms of Duluth, I love it. It's a beautiful lake town. It definitely has its little quirks and this little weirdness about it, but I love it here. We've been having a great time. I'm waiting for the weather to open up so I can jump in the lake or something like that.
We all are, man. We all are. Not waiting for you to jump in the lake, but waiting for the weather to get better.
The lake doesn't change that much. If it's sunny out, that's just warm on you. The lake will be the same temperature.
So you talked about having your technique be kind of a godsend for you with the height issue, if you will, although we probably shouldn't call it that. But technique can be something that everybody can work on, whether you're 5'4" or 6'4". Teachable moment for you, especially being injured right now. Are you able to assist guys with their technique regardless of size?
I think as a pro, you'll see guys that have different ways of getting to the same point. So as a pro, we really don't discuss technique too much. You come in, you do things the way you do. If it gets the job done, it gets the job done. But, in game, we're more talking about game planning. We're more talking about recognizing routes. But technique-wise, you're a pro, man. You made it here. If it ain't broke, we ain't good. You know what I mean? We don't have to fix it.
I like that. My question to close this segment is going to be less cerebral and hopefully more fun for you. So, two-part question. Number one, NFL players you either idolize or emulate or both. And then final part, every player's got a pregame playlist. What's on yours?
First question, I got to say Deion Sanders. Huge Deion fan. Always wanted to be the guy that could do it all. I don't know if I ever will be that player, but always loved watching Deion growing up. He just had the swagger about him that you just loved.
No doubt.
Back it up.
He was so good, and he would tell you about it. You know what I mean? There's nothing you could do about it. And what was the second question?
Your playlist, pregame. What's on it?
Oh, man, pregame playlist. I might start off, I'm a Philly kid. I start off Meek Mill, you know what I mean, a little bit of rap, and then I go gospel closer to the game because, I need to feel godly. I need to feel, protected going into the game, feeling pretty good. So that's how I do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. That's the gospel according to Charles. Charles Reid is segment one. We are Monsters on the Mic. Barron Mallory, the vibrant personality that is. He's with us next. Stick around. We'll be right back. Back once again, Monsters on the Mic continues here at Lyric Kitchen Bar. Again, it's Brian Pudo and Dave Cook. It is our favorite term in radio, as this is the live recording. Although if you hear this on Thursday at 7-ish, it's not live anymore. And then, of course, with the pregame to the pregame. And that's always fun because the game intensity in AF1, specifically for the Monsters, been pretty good of late.
Well, yeah, and this is one of those comeuppance games where we owe somebody, and it's time to collect a receipt. So tonight's game ought to be something.
It should be a good one. Again, it's the Nashville Cats, this time in Nashville. The Monsters, lots of experience on the road so far this season, but that ends this week.
Yeah.
This is the final road tilt of the regular season. Might as well make themselves at home right here in Duluth after that.
Right, because, we've talked about this before. Road games allow a team to, connect a little bit, but home teams allow them to protect. And we're going to get to see that for a couple of weeks now, protect the home field.
Speaking of making ourselves at home, we're able to do that on this show every week, thanks to Lyric Kitchen Bar, thanks to Sanju Two Harbors, thanks to Comfort Systems, and, of course, a little further from home, but one of my favorite places, St. Croix Casino Danbury.
Yeah, St. Croix Casino has really gotten involved in all of our programming, and it's been great.
They took a gamble on us, and we appreciate it.
Nice.
Speaking of taking a gamble, it's always a gamble whenever you give Barron Mallory a microphone, but I'm really happy that we're going to do it right now for these next couple segments because, again, every team needs a vibrant, boisterous personality. The Monsters have more than one. We're going to get one of the bigger ones right now, though.
Well, I always like when they ask athletes, so tell me about your leadership style. Oh, I'm one of those quiet guys that just go about my business, and people just follow what I do. They don't need to listen to me. And then we got leaders who, well, you can hear from across the room, and I think maybe we're dealing with one.
Well, I will tell you this. I should be concerned when my wife talks about another male more often than she talks about me. But when it was Barron Mallory for about the past week, after you, of course, at my wife's classroom, I wanted to make sure that we talk about your experience at the school at Myers-Wilkins because I can't get away from it at home, so I'm not going to let the listeners get away from it here. Tell us about what that's like, kind of embracing the children in the community, because to say they took a liking to you is a bit of an understatement, yet you told me you knew that was going to happen.
Right. It's always good to give back to the community, especially to the kids of the new generation. Coming up in my time, I didn't have, role models to come in and give, a figure speech to, give us some motivation to life. But, I was glad I was able to come in and do that for the new generation.
You were able to get kids to listen, which that's the part my wife as a teacher was marveling at because that's difficult for anybody to get a group of 8-year-olds to do. Now with your injury status, you're going to be a coach here coming up this week. People listen to you. That's got to be a plus.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'm a very outgoing guy, you know what I mean? I don't put too much on nobody, you know what I mean? But I definitely try to lead by example, you know what I mean? Especially being a captain this year. Haven't been as much on the field, but definitely try to be off the field.
So let's talk about your captainship, if you will. Part of it is your familiarity with Duluth and how things are run here, because you're a monster, but you're also part of the previous franchise. I want to talk to you just first about the difference in facilities, because for those of us that were in the old deck, we remember that. It was fun, it was intimate, but it was a different castle, if you will, than Amsoil is. I don't want you to, talk down about one versus the other, but just outline the differences. What's it been like having been in the deck and now being in Amsoil?
Versus the deck from last year, it's a smaller arena, but then you go over to the Amsoil, it's pretty much it's very huge. You know what I mean? It's very it's life-giving. You know what I mean? It definitely puts a spark in your eyes once you walk into the arena. You know what I mean? Compared to the deck, you know what I mean? We're thankful for the deck for giving us a home last year. You know what I mean? But Amsoil is something very beautiful.
So let's talk about the Duluth fans between the two buildings, because you've seen the noise, you've seen the intensity in both places. Does the size of Amsoil make it seem quieter? Does it seem more vibrant because it's just bigger? How does it affect you in terms of, man, the crowd is into this, or maybe they're not yet and need to be?
Man, it don't affect me at all. But once I do hear the crowd into it, it kind of turns me up a little bit more. You know what I mean? I'll be ready to break the knob in the game. So, I try to keep myself at a, moderate level.
That is one of the things about Amsoil is when it's quiet, and when it's loud, it's stupid.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like it carries sound pretty well. So we were talking about it, before we started on the show with you here, and that is facing the same team this close, and they owe you a receipt, or you owe them a receipt. How much focus goes into, listen, they embarrassed us at home to start our whole home season. We've got payback coming.
It's definitely a big note for us to take toll on that. You know what I mean? That sits in the back of our mind for sure. Especially with the veteranship that's in this organization. You know what I mean? We definitely take that very offensive. So we're looking to give a payback, as we go visit them in Kentucky. Nashville.
That's what I wanted to know about the players that are going to be playing this coming weekend. Not to slight you guys being injured, but it's a different perspective for you. How soon did Nashville become the target? Was it an hour after the last win? Was it a day? Was it even prior, which we shouldn't do, but maybe sometimes people do?
Actually, that night.
Okay.
For a lot of the guys that's been in this arena game, especially been at home, we don't lose at home. You know what I mean? That's anywhere you've been in any organization. You know what I mean? And for us to lose the way we lost at home, that became a bitter taste right after the game. You know what I mean? And if you didn't feel bitter, you don't belong here.
I think that's pretty fair. When you look at last week, and again, I'm going by, what I saw a little bit online that I was able to watch and the reactions on social media. Talked about it already. This team got a victory, but the consensus was, man, we did just enough to win. To say we played well is not really an accurate statement. What's the attitude been like this week from the guys in regards to that?
We're just looking forward to the next game. You know what I mean? We step 1 foot at a time. You know what I mean? So we let that game be that game. We won that. If it's about a point, 2 points, 3 points, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's a win. It's a win. But we're looking forward to our next targets.
I should have known he was going to do that. He was talking about being a coach this week, and he said he'd be like Belichick. He moved on already.
He has. That's right. One of the things that we've talked about over the year is the transient nature of the outside of the roster.
Yes, sir.
And how you're bringing people in and sending people off regularly.
Right.
How as a captain, how as somebody that's been around for a while, how do you integrate those people into the game? Because the rosters aren't all that big. You have to get that done.
Absolutely. You lead by leadership. You just go by and be very vocal to them. You know what I mean? If it's getting in the playbook, doing it visual, or however you got to do it. You know what I mean? Just get them adapted to the playbook, get them adapted to the program around everybody, build the chemistry, you know what I mean, and just kind of, get them prepared for that week.
I want to talk about people's personalities because everybody wants to be themselves, but at the same time, there are personalities out there that are infectious. Not that you can change anybody, but I think of guys like Javante and guys like Jamal Couch. They're not the loudest individuals on the planet. Respectfully, you are.
Absolutely.
Do you turn anybody into a more outgoing individual? Because I feel like being around you, I get louder, and Dave will tell you he didn't think that was possible.
Absolutely. My energy seems to rub off on everybody, you know what I mean? Like I said, once again, I'm very outgoing. I'm always laughing, always joking, you know what I mean? Yeah. But when things get serious, it gets serious, and, everybody seems to follow, so.
Where did that energy, where did that outgoing nature come from? Because some people just grew up that way, and it was part of their family, and it's all they know. Other people had kind of a turning point moment where they came out of their shell, maybe shed the shell entirely. Have you always been the boisterous Barron Mallory?
No, honestly, as I grew out throughout my years of life, started playing arena ball, I realized, certain people don't say nothing, certain guys don't be more vocal.
I don't have that problem.
But
Me either.
I just took it up on myself to be vocal, be myself, and however, hopefully somebody will lead. Hopefully they'll follow while I'm leaving, you know what I mean? But this has always been me, so.
And I think it's a huge plus because some people, they land on an injured list and, that's their impact on the team. If they're not out there, they're gone. You are so vocal. It's just going to be sensational to me, the amount of impact you can still have on this team because of the way your personality operates.
Absolutely.
How do you feel in that sense? Because, again, talking to you before the show, I've never seen somebody so excited to be a coach this week.
Man, it makes me feel good. I'm glad guys are able to come to me for knowledge, you know what I mean? Despite me being in it for a long time. I get joked about being old, but hey, my knowledge is very forthcoming to some of the guys that are coming new to the arena scene.
Well, and you're bringing that championship pedigree with you because you've been on a Duluth team that won a championship. You were kind of a late arrival last year, but you were a big part of the stretch run. How has that been for you, Javonte, Jamal now, other guys that have been here, got that ring, kind of impart that knowledge on the guys who maybe haven't?
That chemistry just all came in at one, you know what I mean? We all met up as captains in the offseason, you know what I mean? And just kind of like said we was going to put things together and make it happen, you know what I mean? But just.
We were talking earlier, first segment, about the spot thrower that is the quarterback in Nashville, and that's his superpower. And we got it from Reid about how a smaller player plays cornerback against a team like this. All right, you're the flip side. How does a bigger guy play keeping receivers out of their spot?
Like Charles said, man, physicality. You know what I mean? Definitely got to be physical with the guys at the line of contact. Throw them off their route, the timing with the quarterback. But my size definitely plays a big difference in this game. You know what I mean? Being 6'4", you don't find many corners like that in this league. You know what I mean? So when you definitely got somebody like me on your side of the ball, you definitely take advantage of it.
I can attest to that. I remember the first game he played at the deck, and I saw him, and I went, he plays what?
What is that guy doing? Yeah.
He's not a wide receiver? How did that happen? Speaking of which, is there a part of you that ever wanted to be an offensive player or was one?
Yeah, definitely. High school, I was an offensive player. Went to school, was an offensive player. I played wide receiver for a few years there. And then I got the opportunity to go play in the NFL. End up converting over to defensive back. And I kind of, after that departure from the NFL, I kind of took it up on myself to get a little bit more serious with that position. So it definitely paid off.
So I want to talk about the adage in the NFL that I'm thinking you can defend or disprove or both. There's a theory out there that DBs are just wide receivers that couldn't catch. I imagine with you that's not the case.
No, actually it's not, man. I just seen how, to me at this time, I felt the game was very easy for me being a big target wide receiver, you know what I mean? So I told myself I wanted to flip side and just see what it's like to be guarding these guys that got the advantage on, where the ball is going to be without knowing the ball is going to be, you know what I mean? So it's definitely not a disadvantage.
I love seeing those wheels turn right now. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Definitely not.
5 years ago, 10 years ago, that switch would have paid dividends, wouldn't it have? Looking back at it as a receiver, thinking, man, if I'd have been a cornerback just a few years earlier,
right,
who knows where I'd be.
I played some offensive quarterback in my time, so yeah, definitely.
So I'm curious about this because a lot of players have mentioned the offseason and work put in and meeting with teammates and all of these things that happen in the offseason. What's the biggest difference between an offseason going into an arena year versus 11-on-11, whether it be NFL or elsewhere? What's the offseason difference in terms of, do we train differently, and if so, how?
It's really no different than the training, but the game is definitely a lot quicker. So
sure,
you possibly can train yourself in a quicker aspect of getting out of breaks and things like that, because this is not a game that's going to come to you. You actually got to come to it. You know what I mean? So definitely got to work on some speed before you think it's going to transition different than outside.
All right, so you've told us some of your career highlights. I've been fortunate enough to witness some of them, but take us through the career journey. Barron Mallory's college ball was where, the NFL opportunity was where, hometown is where, and I know you've been in Duluth for a while, but what brought you here?
The just the grit to want to win. You know what I mean? Jacob Lambert brought me in, just despite off he behind the team from last season. Just hearing his grit made me want to, come back out here and then bring a championship to Duluth.
I will tell you, it was the first guy I saw walking in Amsoil, and I went, oh, thank goodness. I know one of them super well.
Somebody's back.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And somebody that won't be shy to tell me he's back.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, your background is really of interest to us and to the people that are listening. So, yeah, not just what brought you here, but let's hear about high school, college,
high school. I went to Pensacola High School, played wide receiver all 4 years, varsity. Went to South Florida, University of South Florida, played receiver. Did 2 years there. I started my semi-pro journey. 1 year within semi-pro, I gained the attention of Alabama, University of Alabama, Birmingham, and the Oakland Raiders. I opt out of the Alabama option. You know what I mean? Everybody asks me why. It's Alabama, but I'm not gonna say I felt like my talents was way more worth sitting for 2 years, but I just didn't feel like sitting 2 years trying to come back, prove myself my junior and senior year to try to make an NFL roster throughout that option. So I just took the NFL options, you know what I mean? Because I got a shortcut right now. I take it, you know what I mean? I got the ins and outs on it, you know what I mean? Things like that. But after that, just started playing some arena football.
It's quite a journey for Barron Mallory. We're just getting started with him. That's segment number 2. We can give him a round of applause for that one. We liked it so much, we'll bring him back for one more segment. Monsters on the mic. Somehow just one segment left already. Stick around. We'll be right back. Back at Monsters on the Mic, Lyric Kitchen Bar is a site of where we record this on Wednesdays. Again, a live recording. Thank you to Lyric Kitchen Bar for having us. Their hospitality is second to none. Our other sponsors that make this possible, pay homage to them as well. Comfort Systems of Duluth, Sanju, where the cars are, and again, St. Croix Casino, Danbury. Thanks for taking a gamble on us.
Absolutely. Thank you to all of them, because without them, we don't have a show.
No doubt about that. And, of course, without the Monsters, we don't have a show. So, Charles Reid, thank you for his work earlier today. Barron Mallory still going. And Dave Cook, you and I, as it's Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook, we've been blessed with an intern this summer.
We have.
And he's been doing some work associated with this show, associated with this league, and we put him to work this week. He did some research, but as a payback for his research or a reward, he can decide. We're going to let him on the air with us a little bit, too.
We are. We've talked about how sometimes players don't want to say things because they don't want to make material for the other team to work with. Well, our intern can do that.
Our intern has nothing to lose. So if he provides bulletin board material, so be it. So we welcome Tanner. Ooh. Tanner, you did some research on the Cats. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do they have all 9 lives against the Monsters this week?
Their best side is offense right now, and our best side is defense, in my opinion. And we can win this.
Okay, so I'm going to let you sing the praises of their offense, and then I'm going to let our defender kind of dispute it. Go ahead.
Their quarterback, that's the big threat here. He can find positions. You screw up once, and he's there. That's the big. You got to get around. You got to try to get rid of him, disrupt the ball. As Charles said, the main word is disruption. You got to make sure nothing gets by and that you can find the ball, make those stops, and make a fourth.
I got to go with this because the quarterback he speaks of, Kolka, you've seen him in multiple leagues now. You've seen him as part of the TAL at the deck.
Yes, sir.
And you saw him in the home opener at Amsoil. What's changed about his game? What's gotten better? As I asked Charles, what challenges you about his game that this team's going to have to look for?
TAL Coco was a little different. You know what I mean? The game was a little faster for him. You know what I mean? AF1 is pretty much
Coca-mania was a little different.
Right.
Yeah.
AF1 is pretty much his format. You know what I mean? This is his stomping ground. You know what I mean? So he definitely he made it to the championship last year, I want to say.
Right.
This is his domain. He's the big dog. So we new kids on the playground, and we're definitely coming to disrupt his homegoing thing.
Okay, so when you say that, when one league is more difficult for him than another, and this is more comfortable for him, this is his place to shine. What makes it that way? What's the big difference?
Actually, TL, he didn't have nothing but one lineman.
Right.
Here in AF1, he's got 3. You know what I mean? Those guys all up front are maybe 900 pounds, maybe 1,000 pounds plus. So it's definitely a big difference with the offensive line to
So it's a
TL.
place where
Right.
a pocket passer can thrive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to ask then as well. Having that pocket, though, with the speed of this game, our defensive line is going to be able to take advantage of that a little bit as well because
Absolutely.
you can't rest in that pocket because it's going to close pretty fast.
Absolutely, especially with Claude Davis, Shahill, Shaki, Rob, Fuentes. You got Mac linebackers, Best. Those guys are flying around.
Yep.
They all looking to eat. So
The pocket passer, man, they don't exist much anymore.
I was going to say, if you
Definitely.
get rid of that pocket, it becomes a different game. Tanner, what else you got in the Nashville scouting report, if you will?
Well, I think next up on the chock block is their wide receiver, Kendall Williams. He's been nothing but good. I believe he was MVP last week for the league. I mean, 121 yards, 11 receptions, 3 touchdowns last week.
That's a game.
He's one of their star players. He's making the plays. He's his start.
So I'm going to spin this two ways for you, Barron, because number one, as a DB, we saw what Kendall Williams did when he was in Duluth. We saw what open receivers can do. Kulka's kind of a guy to me that throws them open. Right. So I'm not sure if it matters what he does or what the receiver does or a combination thereof. But then at the same time, there's always a personal battle, positionally speaking, because you look at what Jamal Couch has been doing. You look at what Tyron's been doing. They have to see that, hey, they got a wide receiver that was MVP of the league last week. That's cute. Wait to see what we can do.
Definitely, especially with our defense. We don't see any receivers in this league as a threat, honestly. You know what I mean? We feel like we got the best defense. We definitely got one of the best high safeties that we'll put on that guy. We can definitely put any of our defenders on at high motion or on whoever. You know what I mean? But this game, I don't think it'll be a little bit different.
So tell me what it's like. Tell our listeners what it's like when a cornerback lines up against a guy who was player of the week last week, and you're the one who's going to shut him down. What does your mind go through when you set up in your stance on that first play?
I'm just looking to dominate from the start. You know what I mean? Like Charles said in the previous episode, if you can disrupt the timing, it'd definitely be difficult for receivers in this league. You know what I mean? Because they're looking to get to open spaces. You know what I mean? But disrupting that time is definitely
So you got like you got a plan in your head. Okay,
definitely,
they do this.
Definitely got to come out of game plan.
And I'm cutting them off. Here
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So Dave talked about what's it like when you line up. I got to wonder, what's it like for an opposing wide receiver when they line up and they see you? When you see 6'4" in a defensive backfield, it's just got to be a different look. Do you think that there's a wrongful premonition that you're slow? Or is it, what's this big guy doing playing this position?
Honestly, no. I feel like they give me my respect. You know what I mean? Just do off the first couple snaps. You know what I mean? They may look my way. I don't know if they look.
Yeah.
But just for example, the Kentucky game, I didn't get much of a look. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just due to my size.
Right.
And especially with the game plan, we knew they had a lot of front side routes, so they stuck me where we could definitely kill them on their game plan. So.
All right, hard-hitting journalism question, and that is completely tongue-in-cheek when I say that. Barron Mallory is actually LeBaron Mallory.
Yes, sir.
Anybody call you that besides your own family?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody calls me Barron or either LB.
Okay.
LeBaron's hard for a lot of people to say. So
See, I just remember the old car, LeBaron. My grandparents
absolutely.
had one.
It's a 1967 Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
But a lot of people always tend to call me LeBron. They try to.
You the real GOAT if you're LeBron?
Oh yeah, I'm an absolute GOAT. You know what I mean? He got his name from me.
I love that.
We go.
Liner. I like that a lot because I've known Barron for a long time, and I got the script for the starting lineups, and you might remember this. I came down and I said, you don't really want me to say LeBaron Mallory, do you? And you said, no, you're going Barron Mallory, aren't you?
Right, absolutely.
So I just wanted to make sure. Was it just grandma? Was it just mom that calls him that?
Yeah,
Is it only when you're in trouble? I just wanted to have it clarified.
Yeah, that's something you have to enunciate too.
Right.
That's tough to do on the microphone in this league. Slow down and enunciate.
Speaking of that, let's give Tanner another opportunity. If you need to slow down and enunciate, what else do we need to know about the Cats in Nashville this week?
I'll go offensively still. All right.
Okay.
We'll stick with it. We'll go kicking.
All right.
So their kicker.
They do have one of the best.
He scored 66 points so far in the league. He's 9.4 points per game so far. I mean, he's the real deal. He'll get you. I mean, I think when I was looking at his stats, his longest kick was 40 yards. I mean, that's pretty good for this league when you have a 50-yard field.
No doubt about that. And my question to that, Barron, is that's one of those things that you have to factor in that you can't really guard against. You think to that opener at Amsoil where Nashville kind of had their way with us. I think it was Tom Stalker and I, the radio play-by-play guy, were talking about, I think their kicker counted for basically a touchdown on his own.
Absolutely.
It has to be a concern, but That's one of those things that you can't say, well, we got to get him off his spot or we got to guard against that. Kickers are going to do what kickers are going to do.
Definitely, absolutely. All they got is one job is to swing their
Right.
leg. You know what I mean? But if our line can definitely get that pressure, it'll definitely disrupt his feel of the game, like Charles said, being uncomfortable.
Well, we just talked about positional battles. Nobody's become a legend in Duluth quicker than Aiden Johnson. Do you think our kicker might be saying, wait a minute, there's a contest right now as to who truly has the best kicker in the league? What's he been like this week, knowing he's going against one of the best?
Man, Aiden Johnson, he's a great guy. You know what I mean? He's definitely working hard. He's looking to get better every week. You know what I mean? And we definitely appreciate him. So,
All right, you want to warn us about Nashville's defense real quick?
I got one good one for you. He was Defensive Player of the Week last week. Jordan Golby, I want to say his name. 6 tackles, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions last week. He's a monster. I just want to know, what do you think defensive wise the offense can do to try and get past that?
Honestly, just play our game. You know what I mean? Our quarterback, Javante Johnson, has been doing this thing for years. You know what I mean? He's one of the best quarterbacks I've seen play the game. You know what I mean? So just trust his front line, his receivers, and you definitely see some numbers be put up this weekend against that type of defender.
That brought up a question for me that I think relates to all facets and all levels of football, but I'm starting to see it now in AF1. Does the O-line not get enough credit? Because Javante's been good, but he's got to be upright as well.
Absolutely. O-line definitely needs the credit, you know what I mean, especially to keep our quarterback healthy and keep him standing up in the pocket and be able to deliver passes to our receivers.
All right, Dave, let's have some fun with Barron Mallory. It's
All
something
right.
that you and I like to do with Mount Rushmores.
Yep.
We got kind of a fun one here because it seems to me he grew up as a wide receiver, but he's become a defensive back. So if you're not familiar with Mount Rushmore, because Phoenix Sproles was not, you get 4 choices. So your DB Mount Rushmore, who are your 4 greatest NFL DBs of all time, and then your wide receiver Mount Rushmore, who are your
you get 2
4
of them.
all-time greats.
I'll go Patrick Surtain.
Okay?
Yep.
I'll go Sauce Gardner.
Wow. Dave would like that.
Anytime you can get a Jet on there. And it's not very often.
My goodness. My favorite Jet is Claude Davis. Go ahead.
I got a city guy, Snead, that just signed with
Yeah, how
Kansas
about
City.
that?
He's pretty fast, very technique.
Okay.
You got a couple of these new guys that are coming in. And I'm going to go hometown, Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah,
Okay.
Love Witherspoon.
None of the old
Absolutely.
guys made it. I was waiting for Dion. I was
maybe
waiting for Daryl Green.
He did not say Patrick Surtain the second. I guess
That's
I thought it was
fair.
senior.
That's fair.
Well, the second, whichever one, the younger generation.
They're
one.
both pretty good.
Yeah,
It's hard to
that's
get that
pretty
wrong.
good. Yeah,
Whichever floats
Right,
your boat.
absolutely. Wide receivers, I'm going to go Randy Moss, Chris Carter.
We can hang out a lot if you'd like. Your first 2 are gold with me.
Calvin Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to go, I like his physicality, Steve Smith.
I like
Yep.
that.
Calvin Johnson's going to be one of the most underrated wide receivers of all time someday.
Well, when you
Absolutely.
play in Detroit in the
Yep.
wrong era, that happens.
But people will stop paying attention and don't realize how good he actually was.
Yes, absolutely.
What about, and you can choose from both Mount Rushmores you just named if you'd like, or you can go off the cuff even better. What are some of the matchups you would have liked to have seen? Like, we got a little bit of it when he was in Dallas, but to me that wasn't the best version of Dion. There was Moss versus Dion. Would we have liked to seen Megatron versus Daryl Green? Would you like to see
Yes, but only because
Megatron
one
versus
6'8"
right,
versus 5'8".
Right.
Yeah.
It's Charles Reed against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I'd like to see Sauce Gardner versus Calvin Johnson. That's height.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though Johnson got him a little bit more in physicality, you know what I mean, size-wise, but I feel like Sauce is very technique. You know what I mean? And he definitely he's got a magnet for the ball. So
You know who would have been fun against Sauce is Marvin Harrison.
absolutely.
He would
Which
have-
one again?
Yeah, no, the one for right, exactly. No, not the
can't say Marvin.
senior. Yeah, senior. Watch him run a route with Peyton and have Sauce in his hip pocket. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how much standings watching is going on? Because I know as members of the media, I do it. Dave, you probably do too. This league is Albany's to lose in their mind.
Absolutely.
Kentucky's a big deal, but we shoved them aside when they came here. Nashville's a big deal, chance to exact revenge this week. And then Minnesota, I know we're a new team, so maybe we're dismissed by others, but shouldn't be, especially when you look at the records right now. Playoff push is coming last week on the road right now. How does Coach Clark and others kind of break this season down into phases, and what phase are we in, and what are we looking at right now? Are we playoff plotting already, or is it coach speak, one game at a time?
Honestly, it's just one game at a time. You know what I mean? We don't ever get too ahead of ourselves. We know we're the new kids on the block, so we definitely take it one game at a time. You know what I mean? We don't ever look past anybody. You know what I mean? We still got 5-6 games until playoffs.
Right.
You're looking forward to hit all the time. You're gonna miss almost every
Somebody's
beat as you
gonna
get
get
there.
you.
You know what I mean? Something might happen there where you're declining everything. You know what I mean? So
somebody gonna get you.
we just try to take it one game at a time. Absolutely.
Last question for you. Are you able to look ahead to the playoffs? Because I know you're injured right now, and I know timeline-wise, you are chomping at the bit to be back in the postseason and be back right at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after receiving news of that, thinking I was going to be out for the end of the season. You know what I mean? It definitely kind of broke me. We got a lot of new addition guys coming in to help assist while I'm out. The guy Trey Jones, one of the Minnesota Gophers.
To say another gopher. Dave's eyes lit up a little bit.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely looking to rehab and definitely get back and help the team best as I can. But until then, like you say, Coach LB, Coach Barron, whatever it is, I'm here to help my team. You know what I mean?
As long as it's not Coach LeBaron, unless he's in trouble. No trouble tonight, though. He's good on a mic. Round of applause. Barron Mallory, one of my favorites. Tanner, your Monsters on the Mic debut. Job well done. Woo. Dave Cook, this was fun again.
You did well.
I did what I could. I just pushed all the right buttons.
No, I pushed the buttons here.
Fair enough. We argue over the job. Job is done. Monsters on the Mic. That's it for this week. And, of course, Dave, before we go, we got to give some love to our sponsors once again. Thank you again to Lyric Kitchen Bar, but, of course, the sponsors that make this show possible. Comfort Systems of Duluth, sound you where the cars are.
Where the cars are, Brian.
And we've been joking about St. Croix Casino Danbury taking a gamble on us, but no joke. I'm impressed. I like the options they have.
Well, truly, and I know you make fun of me with this, but their Better with Age program is kind of cool because some things just get better with age. I mean, if you're 55 plus, it's time for you to shine at St. Croix Casino. Every Wednesday from 9 to 6, you're going to earn 1 point on your Players Club card and get $25 in Turtle Bucks at all 3 St. Croix Casino locations. And, Brian, there's more. There's an hourly hot seat drawing to spin for the Wheel of Prizes. They've added 2 $500 cash prizes to the hot seat wheel every week. Find your fortune at St. Croix Casino. Get all the details at stcroixcasino.com. Brian, we need to get on this $500 prize wheel thing. I mean, every Wednesday they could give us an additional $500 for sitting on these seats.
And, of course, every team hopes to be good in the red zone, Monsters included. Find your fortune and your game at the red zone at St. Croix Casino Danbury, where the massive screens and front row seats to the action make every game feel like a winner. Pick your seat, grab a cold one from the bar, yes please, and let the games play out. Every Thursday, St. Croix Casino's legendary prime rib sandwich, only $9.99 from 11 till 8, and look for their specials on Bloody Marys and Busch Light as well. Get in the game at the Red Zone at St. Croix Casino Danbury, online at stcroixcasino.com. That's a good edition of Monsters on the Mic.
Absolutely. Have a good night and go Monsters.